Hey, I'm Dom. Welcome to my off-grid house here in Portugal, and I'm going to be building a pyramid up there in no time at all, so let's go see it. So when I first found this land, actually where the house is now was a ruin. So in Portugal, to be able to build in these rural areas, you have to have a ruin. If not, it's super complicated to get the license to build a house. So this was like one of the most important things while I was searching for lands. And it does make them a little bit more expensive because there's less lands that have ruins on, for example. So around us was covered in trash. So there was cars all over here. Actually, this part of the house where the bedroom is was a sort of lean-to. It was actually like for the animals. So the footprint of the house on documents when I bought it was only 72 square meters. And I went through quite a process with the sellers of debating the price. We really were trying to work out, they obviously wanted more. I said it wasn't worth more. And I went through a process of applying to the local council to get a pre-approval of how I could build the house, how big I could build the house. Now in Portugal, one of the big things we have is fires. So this area was originally a red fire risk, which means a very high risk of fire. So they didn't let me expand the house, they didn't let me move the house, they didn't let me do anything. So what I had on paper was 72 square meters. And because of this, and because it took so long to get the approval for the building, and added to that the fact that the whole land was covered in trash, I managed to drop the price down to 115,000 euros, which was almost half of what they were asking for. And this took a bit of time, and it took me really sort of negotiating with the proof that I couldn't build. But something beautiful happened once I'd bought the land, and I really just decided this is the land and I'm going to go for it. And as soon as this happened, I met a neighbor nearby who told me that in Portugal, during the fascist regime of Salazar, he took aerial pictures of the whole of Portugal. So you have in Lisbon, there's an archive of every single square meter of Portugal. And what I did then was I saw the original ruin of the house, and I took a topographical sized drawing, and then I matched that to the topographical drawing of the house as it was at the time currently. And these two together actually meant that I had a footprint of 121 square meters. So what I've actually built is 121 square meters, which was an absolute blessing because this was one of the main reasons that I managed to drop the price with the sellers. Just started to come quite strongly into me that I wanted this sort of grounding home energy. And Portugal became the place to do that. Wanted to open a retreat space or a sort of a space for people to heal themselves. So connected with nature, with yoga, with food, nutrition, and getting away from the craziness of life. And that's how me and one of my friends from school who invested in my project, we started that business, which is just over the hill. And then I soon realized that that wasn't the place for me to live. It was work. And even though it's a beautiful place, I wanted to have my own space, which is really how I fell upon this beautiful piece of land and started this project. So once I'd purchased the land, I then had this sort of blank canvas of what I wanted to build. The only real restriction was the footprint of the house. Because of the fire risk area, I couldn't change anything about the dimensions of the house. And so I had a really good friend of mine who is an architect, and he works very closely with numerology and sacred geometry, and that's really the sort of energetics I wanted to bring into the house. I wanted to create a home that allowed you to calm down, and once you step inside, for me, it was going to be a place of rest. That's what my body was calling for. And the big thing for this was, which materials am I going to use? So I decided that I wanted to use all natural materials, and I'd rented a house previously in Portugal, and we'd had a big problem with mold in the winter. So I started looking for solutions of how to combat this, because although most of Portugal, as you can see, is 300 days of sun, there is extreme wet weather in the winter. And to combat this, I fell on hemp bricks. So as you can see here, this is a really natural material of the inside parts of the hemp broken up, and it's literally mixed with limestone, which is powdered, and water, and then compressed into a brick shape. So welcome inside the house. My main aim of the house was to have every material that you actually touch to be natural. So as you can see, we have the wooden beams, which were built by a friend of mine who's a local carpenter, and he actually happens to be a German master carpenter. So an amazing part of this project was how people arrived to help me at the right moment. And the entire house, the frame of the beams, is actually all done with ancient joinery techniques. So there's no glues or screws, it's all sort of slotted into place. As you can see here, for example, all of the joinery is all sort of fits into place perfectly. We have a beautiful joinery here as well of the two pieces of the beams interlocking. So the precision that this carpenter had was absolutely amazing. So this is the first thing you see as you walk into the house, and I wanted it to be something exciting, but also something beautiful and creative. I had some advice given by a friend of mine who's a Feng Shui consultant, and originally we were going to put a working desk here. But she said, if the first thing that you see when you walk in is work, this is going to be the energy of the house. It's going to be heavy and serious, and I wanted this, as I said, to be more light and calming and grounding. So we went for this idea of shelving to house all of my favorite things, and I also brought in this idea of curves, because in modern building everything is straight lines, it's very masculine, and the idea of bringing curves into the house is to soften things, to bring more of this sort of creative, nurturing energy. And as you can see down here with the sunken sofa, this really was a big decision to make a curve in the center of the house. I thought a lot about how do I like to live, how do I want to be, and having this space in the center of the house for conversation was a really important part for me. So the idea of the house to build this pyramid was on top of this part of the house. It's the square part of the house. So within the foundations, there are different crystals which add a beautiful energy into the only part of the house that's actually not living, which is the concrete. So I wanted to add an energy into there. And then as you can see here, the angle of this line isn't actually straight, it's slightly at an angle. So I was forced to keep the position of the house exactly as it is. And for the energy of a pyramid to be correct, like in Giza and in Mexico and other pyramids around the world, the flat side of the pyramid needs to be directional with the cardinal directions. So one side on north, east, south, and west. The house is almost there, but it's 9 degrees off. So what I needed to do was shift the pyramid by 9 degrees. So that's why you see this pillar here and this angle. And then you can see over here as well, this is the other pillar. And this wall isn't straight, it's slightly at an angle. So it gives this dynamic shift of the house. And this combined with the circle of the sunken sofa and the roof window is going to be where you see the apex of the pyramid coming together. But it would be much better if we go upstairs and see that from there. Here we are on the roof. So this is where the pyramid is going to be built. There will be 4 legs of the pyramid, 4 pillars joining in the middle here. And the idea is to have a deck all around here so that we can practice yoga underneath the pyramid. This part of the roof here, which is over the bedrooms, is going to be a green roof. So I wanted to keep the active energy of the pyramid here in this square, which is above the kitchen and the sitting room, and the more calmer energies down in the bedrooms. So one of my biggest challenges or desires was to have a compost toilet inside the house. And most compost toilets that you see are an outbuilding. But I thought, why can't we have a compost toilet in the house? So to be fully off-grid, I needed to be off the sewage system. And when I did my permaculture course, I got super interested in human poo. I couldn't believe how much we pollute our waters with our own waste. And I couldn't also understand why we've created a system that takes more water to clean the water. So we're losing clean water every time. And a phrase that I thought was pretty interesting was, if you can't handle your own shit, then you're not really living life fully. So I decided to start handling my own shit, and the first batch of compost toilet has now planted my first trees here. I also really wanted to have a bath. So this was again quite a difficult design because I wanted to have a shower with a view, but I also wanted to have a bath. So I thought, why not combine the two, because I don't have much space. I have a limited space in the bathroom. So another thing that I love is being in a shower or a bath with a partner. So I made sure that I had space for 2, and also sitting down in the bath, it kind of turns into a hammam. The one thing that's a bit challenging is it's a big bath, so it takes quite a long time to fill up, and I need to make sure that the solar has heated enough water. And as you can see, it's a bit narrower here, and the idea is that it opens up here, so there's more light, there's more space, and this sort of closing and opening directs the energy through the house. The first room we have here is the sort of guest bedroom. Each bedroom has a nice sort of outside area and a connection to nature, and it's just very calm and simple, ready for rest basically. And then this bedroom is my bedroom, which again, just really wanted it to be a space of calm. There's no crystals in the foundations here, because once we come into bed, it's really just a place for rest and for making love. Above on the roof, as we saw, this part is going to be the green roof. So again, it's a garden, there's no energetics above it. It really is just a place to rest. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed discovering my home and seeing everything that I've created here. I also teach yoga, meditation, and do some beautiful sound journeys in the area. So if you want to follow anything I do, please check me out on Mitahara Malidesh. Thanks so much. Take care.